negro y todos me señalaron. Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todos se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice, quién explota, quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hacia dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi visión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
What's happening? What's happening? It is the Rise Up morning show. You know what we do up here. Do that one more time, brother. For folks that don't know, we up, we up, we up. It's the Rise Up morning show. It's no more morning show in the diaspora. That's a hard statement that I'm making. No disrespect to any of the morning shows out there. Salute to those that we rock with, and for those we don't, that's all I got to say on that.
That's how you feel.
That's how I feel.
Oh,
know what we do around here. What's happening, Ikemba? What's good, my brother? How you feeling today?
Hey, I'm feeling great, man. I want to wish everybody a revolutionary morning. Rise up.
Okay. It's definitely a great day.
Off like that.
It's definitely a great day for a revolution. You know what I mean? You know what we do around here. Shout out to our comrades. It's playing hooky today. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You got Bouna and Fernando over in France. We got Ife on the West Coast. You know what I mean? We got a brand new host that's going to be coming along as well on Monday. We ain't going to say nothing about it. Excuse me, Tuesday. We ain't going to say nothing about it. You know what I mean?
Hold on. Okay.
Yeah. And we got on the boards tonight. We got Isaac behind the scene tonight. You know what I mean? Because he went wild yesterday on the last morning show and whatnot. You know what I mean? He had a temperature, so we had to check his temperature. Ooh. So he behind the scenes, him and Sister May on the boards tonight. Yeah, shout out.
And twos.
You know what I mean?
Twos today.
It's popping. So you know that look right there gonna be crisp. You know what we do. Anyway, it is, like we said, it's the Rise Up Morning Show. And as always, we bring you that critical political action for your satisfaction. You know what I mean? I want to say, too, we are slowly approaching, and I think by the end of this show, it'll be that 50K on Black Power Media. If you are not a subscriber to Black Power Media, make sure you subscribe because we got it for you. You know what I mean? Black Power Media got what it takes. We got it for you. We got some new shows coming on board. You know, we happy about that. On the Rise Up Morning Show, this is what, episode 6? Yeah, episode 6. We 6 deep.
6, equality.
Oh, you already know equality. My man took it back. You know what I'm saying? Let y'all know. Let y'all know it's equality. You know what I mean? It's going
absolutely.
Down. Yes. And on this day of equality, we absolutely have a powerful guest because that's what we do around here. You know what I mean? We're not going to name no names, but you'll see our guests coming up shortly. You know what I mean? Next week, we got some powerful guests lined up as well. We got some powerful guests lined up the whole week. And that's just what it is. That's just what it do. Again, catch us Tuesdays through Friday right here at the Rise Up Morning Show, 8 to 10 a.m. EST, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern. And we're definitely absolutely grateful. Ikemba, what's good, man? How you feeling today, brother?
Hey, I'm feeling great, feeling amazing. Glad to be here, building with the people. Even though I can't see the people, I know y'all out there.
They out there.
Yeah. And yeah, just looking to get organized, man. Well, I am organized, but I'm looking to get the people organized.
True
As
indeed.
many
True
as
indeed.
possible,
Yes. And why should the people for like critics and folks that, that just, they just going about their day and, they, living life like it's golden, you know what I mean, while things are going on. Why should people want to get organized, brother? Let's play crackers advocate.
Man, the people know better than me. The system is waging war, on us. And they feeling it every day. And so, if they really want to see the changes that hasn't been made for the last 400 years, we've been seeing some gradual changes, but we talking about liberation, we talking about the right to self-determination. If that's something that they really want to see, that's going to come through organization. It's not, no politician is going to be able to grant that or give that, to the people. The people are going to have to rise up and seize that for themselves. So, and that can only come through organization. No individual is going to be able to do that by themselves. So it's really important to connect with folks that's about that life. People organizing you just to cast a vote and nothing's coming after that, then those people aren't serious about liberation. If they're telling you to cast a vote, but come to this meeting so we can talk about real liberation later. They just
it's a good start.
Yeah. Hey, you can do that, but come to this meeting. We can really talk about getting free.
Okay.
I'll take that. You know what I'm saying? But if it's only one of those things, come cast a vote. Nah, that's not enough.
Listen, man. You know what I'm saying? The more the words of the family out of the Bronx, New York, uptown, the welfare poets. We ain't vote to get into this, so we won't vote to get out. That's how we feel about that thing around here. Shout out to the candidates that we do rock with. There are some third-party candidates that we vibe with. You know what I mean? I'm cool with a couple of them. Some of y'all, I don't rock with you, so I ain't even gonna pretend. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna say it just like that because it's the morning show. We were talking about rising up. We got to be sincere about how we moving. We can't just be out here, lollygagging. We got to make sure that we're on the right side of the barricade. Shout out to all our OGs. Shout out to the ancestors. Also want to remind folks that Black August is around the corner.
Right there.
Black August is around the corner, and we're going to be bringing you the real about Black August. You know what I mean? A lot of folks got it confused, think Black August is Black History Month. They be naming a whole bunch of dates that happen to happen in August, during Black August. That's true. But we're going to talk about what Black August is really all about. So we'll be feeding you that to make sure that you check in. I've noticed, some folks, one year they don't know nothing about Black August, and the next year I see them being interviewed by some white folks as experts on Black August. Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, woo, like, damn, I remember last year. But never mind. Don't make me say what it is. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, Ikemba. I didn't know Ikemba like this dude right here. But that's just what it is. Our people are suffering, bro.
Black August that has to remain, sacred. That can't be, I definitely understand Black History Month, and I'm all for it. And I'll debate anybody when it comes to, that history and the reason for it. But Black August is a bit different than Black History Month. It's a lot different.
Sacred.
Yeah. And it ain't for everybody to be running around talking about doing Black August celebrations and
we don't Yeah. We don't, for the first thing first, we won't even celebrate Black August. We commemorate Black August. So we want to make
right on.
sure that that's in the forefront, because it has to do with, our political prisoners, primarily several folks who were martyred. And there are 4 primary dates around Black August. Those dates are August 1st, August 7th, August 13th, and August 21st. Those are the flea dates. Those are the dates that we fast, 24 hours. Those are the dates that, you get it in, because that's the foundation of Black August. And of course, we ain't going to hit you upside the head, because we're going to be talking about Black August a lot during that month. But I just want to remind folks that it's around the corner.
Shout out to my twins, man. That was born on August 13th.
Okay. So that's a great day. That's a flea day. How old are your twins?
They'll be 18.
Okay, well, tell them it's a good day to fast 24 hours. I don't know if they with that. They're like, hold up, man. Like, I just heard about this yesterday. What you talking about? But anyway, yeah, we'll be talking about that. So definitely salute to your twins. Again, this is the Rise Up Morning Show. We got a whole lot coming at you. Drop in the chat where you from, what city you come from. You know what I mean? Drop in the chat. What are some of the things that you would like to see happen on our platform? We are currently, we're recruiting some more hosts. We have about 7 hosts right now, but we're recruiting some more. We would like some sister hosts, because we don't want to be accused of, they ain't got no sisters on it. We now asked several sisters, you know what I mean? And, do the schedule, whatever, that hasn't always worked out, but we're absolutely recruiting folks who are serious about our people's liberation movement. And we want y'all to know this is not entertainment purposes only. This is for those who are looking to learn, grow, and move mountains when it comes to this movement thing. We probably going to go to a quick, what we call a Black Power break, so that you can check out some of the jewels we got coming. Rise Up Morning Show. Let's get it.
To the Washington Post, I want to get this correct. I don't think that anything we can do to white people would ever equal what they've done to us. I really don't. White people are born guilty, and there is no redeemer.
Oh, I absolutely said that.
What do you mean by born guilty?
What I mean is this, that in America, white children are raised to be white supremacists, meaning to believe that they're superior. And as they're raised, they're integrated into a system of power that protects their alleged superiority. We as African people have never enslaved and captured European people, taken them from their land, raped their women, changed their culture, suppressed their ability to be educated, and do all of the wicked things that white America has done to African people. Therefore, there is no such thing in my mind as reverse racism, because reverse racism would imply that we had in some way even the scales, and certainly as African people, we have not done that.
Do you know any white Americans who resisted that education and went the other way?
Resisted what education?
The education to grow up superior.
It depends on what you say as went the other way.
Fought for equal rights, got involved in the civil rights movement, put their life on the lines as young men did in Mississippi and Alabama in the civil rights movement. You don't think whites did that?
I think that there are white people who have made ostensible moves towards addressing this system, but I think when we get down to the fundamental issues of power, meaning not the question of whether blacks and whites can go to restaurants together, or whether Africans and Europeans can marry one another, not the ostensible questions, but when it comes down to the question of power, white people, European people in this country have not served us well.
Now, I mean, Sister Soldier in the building. We gotta get Sister Soldier on the platform, man. We gotta get Sister Soldier come through here. Man, how she start off? He's like, "You said such such." She said, "I absolutely said that."
Double down on it.
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying. We ain't gonna. I don't know if he thought she was gonna, dip down in the seat and say and explain, you know, in a way, like so many black folks do from time to time. They'll, they talk real tough in the barbershops. They talk real tough in front of us. Then white folks come around, they change their voices and you know what I'm saying, and talk proper and all types of shit like that. Listen, for our viewers that's checking us out, our white viewers, because of the fact that we know that we have all types of different folks, European viewers, so on and so forth, that's checking us out. That's cool. We appreciate you, tapping in and hopefully supporting this mission. But allow me to say to you that what I say behind the scenes is what I'm saying to you when you see me. You know what I mean? So just understand that I am African first, and I'm down with, humanity is what it's all about. Life is what it's all about. But at the same time, my job is not to make you feel comfortable about what your ancestors did to us. What you, if you, and some folks, I remember speaking at a university one time, and this sister tried to explain me away once I finished speaking. And, I told her, first of all, I don't need a ventriloquist. You know what I mean? Let's start with that. You know what I mean? And I don't need nobody to explain my position. I think my position is clear. And also, it's not, we're not accustomed to, to apologizing. We can't be apologetic for how we feel. And, the sister later on, she came to me, she said, well, they're not their ancestors. And, I feel bad because whatever. And I said, well, shit, she said she feel bad about making them feel bad. I said, shit, if they feel bad, if they feel pain, imagine what my ancestors felt. You understand what I'm saying? So we're not here to make you comfortable about your skin. All I could say is, hop on in, support, anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism, be anti-racist, so on and so forth, and make it a tangible thing. Not just, you got a Black Lives Matter poster in your yard, not just I bought a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, you know what I mean? Because none of that, at the end of the day, the grand scheme of things, those are things you can put on and take off. You know what I mean? We can't put this on and take it off. This is who we are. Anyway, excuse me.
You gotta do, for me, you gotta be like, and I don't know how people feel about John Brown, man, but John Brown was willing to he put his life on the line to destroy the system of slavery. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm looking for in somebody who's talking about they for liberation of African people and want to build and organize with us, and call themselves allies or comrades, of Africans. And are you willing to put your life on the line to destroy the system? 'Cause at the end of the day, I mean, it's going back to Sister Soldier was talking about white supremacy. We're in a system that's politically and economically dominated by these Europeans. And I don't get into like the thing with like white supremacy. It's not saying that white people are supreme over African people, because they're not, but as far as dominating us, they're in a superior position in this system, and they're supposed to be, because it's a system that they built and created, and that's why they do anything to maintain this system. And so, white people are born into a system that they're in control of, and I think like maybe that's what, I don't want to put no words in Sister Soldier's mouth, but that's what I took from it.
Right.
White people, they're born, they're like given the reins of this white supremacy. All they got to do is just play by the rules,
Right.
And they're good.
So I would say, one thing, because I know you mentioned John Brown. We don't have to go back that far. I would say Marilyn Buck, be like Silvio Berardini and folks like that who supported the Black Liberation Army and the Black Panther Party, so on and so forth, the Weather Underground, folks like that who sacrificed and shown some type of commitments, the Laura Whitehorns and so on and so forth. We've had Laura and Sylvia on this on this platform on Black Power Media. Sylvia's over in Italy right now, and folks like Marilyn Buck who are ancestors now, but they're folks who supported the Sequo Dingers and the Darubas and so on and so forth. They're folks who had the opportunity to walk away courtesy of their whiteness, but instead they took those charges. You know what I'm saying? Marilyn was sentenced to 75 years. You know what I'm saying? I forget how long Sylvia was. I believe it was over 40 years, whatever, so on and so forth. But these are folks who right now, or in our era, took on that mantle of the quote unquote John Browns. So you know what I'm saying? So we don't have to go too far back. And I'm just saying that credit.
I mean, even the white folks that are under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, like I know from that experience, like these are people who come under the leadership of Africans and go into their communities and organize to give reparations back to the African community, And that's a difficult thing to do, is to come under the leadership of African people and fight for another people's liberation. But they understand that their liberation, the liberation of even the white workers, is dependent upon the liberation of African people worldwide.
No doubt. Speaking of coming under leadership, we got a story I think that you're gonna push in regards to some of the yoke that folks are experiencing in Texas. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So we're pulling it up on the screen. I don't see anything, but this is we're going to look at this story. It's a documented history of the forced labor that was taking place in Texas, continues to take place in Texas. This isn't even just a history lesson. This is something that is currently going on. So Texas plantation prisons inside a 200-year history of forced labor, shrouded in secrecy. And I'm just going to read some of this, and then we can discuss it. Frank Pickard stood before. I don't know if you want to make that a little larger.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Just for the people, Frank Pickard stood before 6 legislators from the Texas Penitentiary Investigating Committee at the Clemens State Prison Farm in Brazoria County, revealing scars left from 39 lashes. Even after a year and a half, the braided rivulets ran over his thighs and buttocks, rising a centimeter above his skin. It wasn't the first time Pickard had been punished for refusing to work since being convicted 13 years before at age 25. The black farm laborer from Livingston had been shipped from Huntsville to a railroad camp, then to Rusk and 2 other prison farms before landing at Clemens, located on former plantation land about 60 miles south of Houston. State prison records show he received a total of at least 82 lashes from infractions like laziness and mutiny. On a frigid February morning in 1908, Pickard, along with 11 others, refused to continue digging a ditch after being forced to wade for days through icy water and mud in the same wet clothes. The warden himself administered the whipping. He broke the skin all over me every time he hit me. I bled and my clothes stuck to me for a month. Pickard told the 6 legislators on November 12, 1909. Barely able to move, Pickard soon resumed work. We work as long as we can see how to cut sugar cane, he said. It wasn't only bucking work that could unleash brutal punishments. Refusing to greet a guard, speaking too loudly, or talking back could result in lashing or other forms of violence. Every prison laborer who participated in the protest with Pickard was punished, save one. Only Alf Reed was spared, having been recently hospitalized after suffering nearly 100 lashes. Pickard said still, Reed died 2 months later. And just to stop there for a moment, and maybe we can discuss it. But they talk about Alf Reed right here in this paragraph when Pickard talks about Alf Reed, who passed away, or died 2 months later, and him being the only one that was spared during this time, as those who protested were whipped. Uh, but in this article, it kind of speaks to those prisoners who were dying behind enemy lines through this forced labor. And it kind of speaks to that, how it's still going on even to this day. But now, at least at that time in the early 1900s, because of the brutality that was discovered happening behind enemy lines, that there was some investigation, and convict leasing became illegal. It became illegal in Texas in the early 1900s, around somewhere around like 19, I think it said 14 or 15. But even though it was illegal, what was happening is the prisons sort of took over from the corporations, who instead of leasing these convicts, instead of leasing, I'll say convicts, like for the purpose of this conversation, but instead of them doing that, the prisons now took over the job of forcing the prisoners into working, doing agricultural labor and manufacturing labor, which brought in millions of dollars and continues to bring in millions of dollars for these prisoners. But the point, I kind of digress, the point I wanted to make too, as far as the forced labor and the deaths, now they don't have to report these deaths that take place behind enemy lines. So, sometimes not everyone is dying from forced labor, but those who are, some may die from natural causes, but the fact that they don't have to report it means that, many are people, no telling what is taking place behind enemy lines, and our people die as a result of the labor and just the brutality from the guards. They don't have to report these things, and this has been going on since the early 1990s. But this, this article really, discusses what the first time I heard Douglas Blackman, when he talked about it, and I know others spoke about it too, slavery by another name. This is what we see happening in Texas, was going on all throughout the South to put Africans back into slavery. And I think like this is just, a microcosm of what, our people was going through at the time and continues to go through. So I don't know if you had any.
Yeah. I mean, just real briefly, man, there's 24 current quote unquote agribusiness prisons in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And 9 of them are actually located on former plantations. I'm sure that they say that they're located on former plantations, but we know that the U.S. was a plantation. So,
Right on.
what does that mean? The 9 that they're recognizing, more or less. But, and folks are like, oh, man, this is a form of slavery. Of course, prison, some folks talk about the new Jim Crow. It ain't no new Jim Crow. It's the same thing. It just changed forms.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just modern enslavement, and that's what it's all about. And some folks, they start talking about, this is illegal, and some folks want to jump in talking about the U.S. Constitution. And according to the U.S. Constitution, the 13th Amendment, they said unpaid work is mandatory. It's a practice sanctioned by the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. And then there's that small piece to it that says, except as punishment for crime whereof the parties shall have been duly convicted. So the thing is, there's all types of different loopholes, and I'm not even going to say fine print because it's right there for you to read. It's just that most of us are not paying attention to what it is they're saying. We just go along what they say, and we talk about we have rights, so on and so forth. There are no rights in the United States. There's no rights on this planet when it comes to imperialism, when it comes to colonialism. You know what I mean? We have an example of that would be our good brother Veronza Bowers, who served 50 years and was just released a couple months ago, about 3 months ago. And shout out to Veronza if you're checking us out. This brother right here, he was scheduled to go home 20 years ago. 20 years prior to his sentence. He had maxed out 30 years. And the U.S. Attorney General called and said, hold him. So he was held literally for 20 years. This man was on his way. He was between the gates on his way out of the prison. And they decided to hold him, and he was held. And there were like, I believe, 6 or 7 attorney generals since that time. You know, so he was finally released on parole a few months ago. But this is the reality, and folks be like, well, you can't do that. That's illegal. Who you going to tell?
No.
What Malcolm talked about, like Frank James telling Jesse James. Yeah. You know, I wanted to, we're going to, you know, follow up on this story and others because there's so much to talk about when we talk about enslavement. You speak on enslavement. We speak on the U.S. prison system. You're talking about a country that's 5% of the world population, yet houses over 25% of prisoners in the world. You know, here in Georgia, there's over 300 different facilities. You know, we're talking about everything from, you know, federal prisons, state prisons, ICE, you know, the immigration prisons in which folks don't talk about. And when most folks think about ICE and they talk about immigration prisons, you know, you think of, you know, oh, they're trying to get the Mexicans out. They're trying to get these folks on and so forth. But the reality is the most impacted and affected folks dealing with ICE happen to be Haitians. And a lot of folks aren't aware with that. Not aware of that. What we're going to do, speaking of Haiti, one of our favorite places, Haiti, we're going to have a guest who's going to talk to us about what's going on over in Haiti and some of the BS that's happening and how Africans are being used as running dogs for the U.S. and for others. So we're going to go to this quick Black Power break and we're going to be right back at you. Stay tuned. Rise up.
When we talk about Malcolm X, I think it's necessary to know that we are talking about his birthday and to know that the significance of Malcolm X is not that he was born on that particular day so much as he is representative of a particular point, a particular period in time, and a particular people, a whole people that suffers extreme brutality in the social system. Malcolm X, most of us know, was born on May 19, 1925. It is worth noting that the date of his birth, the year of his birth, was the same year that the United States government jailed Marcus Garvey. Malcolm X's father and mother were followers of the movement led by Marcus Garvey that was called the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. It was a movement that raised the slogan, Africa for Africans, those at home and those abroad. It was a movement that recognized that black people stretched across the globe were in a condition that was imposed on us by external forces, by hostile forces, by Europe, by white power, by America, and that our future had to be one that resulted in coming to power on our own terms. We have to be a self-governing, free people. And it is the family that Malcolm X grew into, was born into, at a really important time. I mentioned this was the year that Garvey was jailed, which is to say that it was a year of extreme repression in this country. That was 1925. We can go to 1915, the so-called Red Summer, at a time where whites initiated violent riots in particular cities throughout this country, murdering scores of African people. In 1921, the United States government initiated the first aerial bombardment in the Western Hemisphere, military bombardment. And that was bombing in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that destroyed African community and black businesses. It was called Black Wall Street. It had become so successful, 1921. So it was an extremely tumultuous period that Malcolm X was born into. He was born just a few years after the success of the Russian Revolution, where a few years after the end of the first imperialist war that people refer to as World War I, there was an incredible transformation that was happening throughout the world. And World War I was a war that was fought by various white powers to redivide the world among themselves. And it was a brutal war. I mean, scores, hundreds of thousands of people died in that war to redivide the world. That's what it was. And I think we need to be clear on that, because we hear all kinds of fairy tales about what these horrible events in history were really about. And so what we need to understand is that these wars that we are talking about, they're like mafia arrangements. The whole organization of the world is like an arrangement that mafia forces pull together. And they occasionally have these wars to redivide the world because they don't like their cut. In 1884 and 85, to prevent such a war from happening, European powers got together in a place called Berlin, Germany, where they split up Africa. This Africa that we think we know about was carved up at a table in Germany. No Africans were there. Just white people got together and carved up Africa in order to prevent themselves from going to war among themselves over who was going to get what part of the black world. We weren't there. We weren't included. We were on plantations in Jamaica and Brazil and in Mississippi and Alabama and all those other places that we have been strewn throughout the world. And so there has been this history of Europe going to war with each other, redividing the world. They don't like the arrangements. After a few years, then they go to war again, redivide the world. That's what happened with the second imperialist war. Germany felt like it got a bad deal after the first imperialist war. And it kicked off the second imperialist war, again, to redivide the world. We were told, and we get taught this nonsense in our classes, that the war was fought for democracy, etc. That's what we get taught. But how in the hell can a country be fighting a war for democracy when lynching is the national pastime in the same country? How in the hell could America be fighting for democracy when the national pastime in the country was killing black people?
What's happening, good people? That was Chairman Omali Yesatella. That's Ikemba's chairman. Tell us about who that man is for folks who don't know, brother.
That's Chairman Omali Yesatella, chairman of the African Revolution, African Nation, the African People's Socialist Party as well. The Uhuru movement, most people know it. The Uhuru movement. Sometimes I step to folks and some NPDM or the African People's Socialist Party. NPDM is International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. But if you don't know, that's the leader of the Uhuru movement.
No doubt, no doubt. And we want to point out that on this platform, one of the beauties of being on Black Power Media or being on this particular program, Rise Up Morning Show, all of the hosts are part of organizations. And we believe that it's important to be a part of organizations. It's important to have political education because we can have some type of clarity. Now, all of our political education might not be the same. It may vary based on, what our systems are. But the one thing that we have in common is we're anti-imperialist. We are African. We're African first. So we don't want to make no mistakes about it. I know some of you all, you make up fancy names. You don't want to be African. You choose to call yourself different things, and that's fine. Being oppressed is an embarrassing thing. So sometimes, everybody want to be somebody better than everybody. But at the end of the day, you have to choose what side of the barricade you're on. You can label yourself whatever you want to. That's your own personal business, But at the end of the day, me living in a place like Georgia, right here in these United States, the home of the thief and the slave, when you venture outside of Atlanta, they will tell you that you ain't in Georgia no more. You ain't in Georgia no more. Excuse me, you ain't in Atlanta no more, boy. You in Georgia. So the fact is, these crackers don't give a good goddamn what you decide to call yourself. They don't care, who your ancestors were. They don't care whether you thought you came from a slave ship or a spaceship. We in the same shit. So until you get that correct, all that other stuff is a sidetracking of the slave. Now, some of you say, well, why people weren't slaves, and that's cool. We get it. Your people was kings and queens. I guess everybody wasn't no damn servants, according to some of y'all. But I digress. Who am I? I'm just a ranting, raving revolutionary.
No, but that's you talking about some self-hate that's going on too with people. They run away from being African, and they got me. Maybe one of these morning shows we can talk about Paul Pierce and Gilbert Arenas, and I'm sure our basketball folks probably got something to say. Our basketball hosts who like to cover those sports, but they have been showing a lot of hate from South Sudan, almost beating America, and these are two black folks. Gilbert Arenas, he Afro-Cuban. He was born, raised here. Many people wouldn't know that, but it's coming out now that who his family is, and Paul Pierce. But straight embarrassment, man. It shows a lot of self-hate, man. The way that they view African people, and here we are. They looking at it. We're American. We're from America, the most powerful place in the world. That's how they're viewing it. Like how we almost lose to this third world country. That's how they're looking at it. This is forward country.
Right. Ain't there something? The fact that you identify with your oppressor more than the oppressor identifies with himself, as Kwame Ture would talk about. Kwame Ture would talk about. Yeah, I mean, it's a strange kind of man, woman, or child that that chooses to identify with its oppressor, and we see that daily. We ain't gonna get into Kamala Harris, or maybe we will. Anyway, before we go there, we brought on a guest, someone that I've been knowing for, I would say, well over 30 years right now. She's someone who is consistent, someone that, when I feel like I want to be soft, she reminds me that, they look like something that's some sucker stuff. You know what I mean? I want to, this sister right here, her name is Èzili Dantò. She is a human rights and international law attorney, an award-winning playwright, performance poet, and cultural activist. Born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and raised in the U.S. She is a Haitian scholar and runs the Èzili Network, the Free Haiti Movement, the Haitian Lawyers Leadership Network, amongst other things, fighting for clean water, renewable power, skills transfer for Haiti. Èzili is the author of 10 plays in two book series, and probably more because I'm reading one of her old bios. Regularly conducts Haiti teachings on the non-colonial narrative on Haiti, centering on Haiti's wealth, natural resources, and revolutionary culture. I want to introduce you all to my comrade, my sister, Èzili Dantò. Èzili, how you doing today?
I'm good. Honor and respect, my brother. Honor and respect.
No doubt, no doubt. It's always good to see you, even when we don't see you. We see your picture on the screen, so it's all good. We know it's you.
I appreciate it. If you guys want me to share the screen, I can also, do that. I have a few things I can show you as we talk. You just let me know.
It's all good. However you want to run, we here with you. You here with us to say it's definitely good to have you on here on the Rise Up Morning Show. We needed some strong energy today. So okay, well, who do we know that's no holds barred? They're like, oh, Èzili Dantò. Duh. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's, as you know, better than the rest of us on the screen, Haiti has been under attack for centuries, and nothing's changed. In fact, it's gotten worse based on the particular players and characters in this particular conundrum. I want to ask you, first of all, before we even go there, give us some backstory on your work as far as for and on behalf and with Haiti. So, for folks who aren't familiar, I gave the little brief bio, but that's kind of somewhat of an injustice if you ask me.
No, we can get straight to the issues. My name is Èzili Dantò, and like Kalonji says, we've known each other for over 30 years. At that time, I was an entertainment attorney when I first met Kalonji in Connecticut.
That's right. Tell him.
Long time ago. And we have watched what music has done to our community, what gangster rap has done, the glorification of it. So my journey started there. And when I realized that I was putting young men on the plantation, and that those that had a positive message were sometimes, they would get an advance, but then they would be put on the shelf. So I decided that was not and when I went to a lot of those men, I was representing members of Public Enemy, The Last Poets. Capitalism was the game in the last 30 years. And capitalism, seduction, make that dollar, was more important than our collective health. And so I left that industry. And I happened to, at that time, I was born in Haiti, for those of you who don't know me and my work. I was raised in Stamford, Connecticut. I was a New York and a Connecticut lawyer. Aristide asked me to come and represent him when he was in exile. And so in that time, that's how I started the whole Free Haiti movement journey. At that time, he asked me if I knew any other lawyers that was like me. Concerned and articulate about the injustices of the United States, deciding that a popularly elected president could be taken down by U.S. forces. And so that's how I started my journey from representing hip hop artists, R&B artists, and doing my own artwork, to becoming the head of the Haitian Lawyers Leadership Network. And then in 2004, when Aristide was again given a coup d'etat the second time, February 29th, 2004, on the bicentennial of Haiti's independence. And as you know, it's 220 years of us fighting the Napoleon army coming back in the face right now of what is called the core group. I was listening to your intro where you were the guy was talking about how, the Berlin Conference and how the Western vampires divided Africa. Well, today the way they do it is through their diplomats, not through any treaties. So Haiti has something called the core group, made up of 6 Western colonial nations. And those same nations and a few more have the same core group in the Congo. They use the same template. They use black faces. The same way we have right now Kamala Harris and Obama being the black faces of white supremacy and white domination in order to fool the masses. It's the same way that in the Congo they use 3 nations, Kagame in Rwanda, Museveni in Uganda, and Kenya and now it's Ruto. So, and now they've imported Ruto. They're so happy with the place where Obama came from. The U.S. is definitely ramping up its AFRICOM space, its UN Bretton Woods space in Kenya, as it's being kicked out of other spaces in the Middle East. It's chosen Kenya. And so they have brought Kenya to come to Haiti. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but that's my background, really. I've been running the Haitian Lawyers Leadership Network since 1994, when I went back for the first time as a legal advisor to the first democratically elected president, President Jean-Bertrand Aristide. And then in 2004, I started the Free Haiti movement when George W. Bush, the son, the first coup d'etat was his father, and then the second one against Aristide was the son, and they essentially blatantly deported the democratically elected president to Central Africa. And so it's been a long struggle. But what I think is important in this space and time is for you all to know that there is a quiet genocide going on in Haiti. When the U.S. came in 2004, they announced they had something called the Ottawa Initiative. You guys can look it up. And it was a group of diplomats. Think, like I said, of the Berlin Conference, that a year before Haiti's bicentennial, the European colonists was so pissed that there was a democratically elected president on the 220-year anniversary of Haiti, that we had survived all of their shenanigans in oppressions and massacres, so on. They came together in Ottawa, these foreign ministers of these groups that I tell you, the 6 core group nations that have been ruling Haiti since 2004 are led by the United States, France, Canada, Germany, Spain, Brazil. And those are the 6. And then they have 3. Essentially, the Leclerc army has come back, those that understand what I'm talking about, when Napoleon came to commit genocide back in 1802, and Jean-Jacques Dessalines, the greatest hero who ever lived, the man we elevate at the Free Haiti movement, the man we're looking for everywhere on the planet, the Ogu that we lift up. He, after Toussaint Louverture was murdered, deceived by his love for French culture and his idea that somehow he was a French general and he was going to be treated fairly by the vampires. They summarily asked him to a meeting and then essentially kidnapped him, and he died in the Jura Mountains on July 7th, 1803. And then rose the indigenous army of Haiti. That indigenous army was about over 70% Congo, which is why today I am very, very interested as the head of Free Haiti movement and what's happening in the Congo. These are our ancestors. They know that once the Congo is liberated and Lumumba is revenged and avenged, and the people rise up, that there will be no stopping us, that we will have. Right now, I'm coming up to something called Bokaiman, which is more popularly known as Boakaiman. The August 14th began the Haitian Revolution in 1791. And every year for the last 20 years, since 2004, I do a teach-in. I carry the name of the goddess, the irreducible essence of the Black woman's energy, of the divine mother of all that is. And so her name in Vodun is Èzili Dantò, and she was the first archetype that quickened the priestesses that were at that spiritual Vodun ceremony in 1791. So August 14th is coming, you guys. And we always say to Africa and to all Pan-Africanists that we must look outwards together. We must, even though we have different ethnicities because of how we were culturalized doing slavery in the New World, or in Africa, how they divided us, we must come together. And we are happy to say that the new Dessalines that we're looking at right now, the man that we're elevating is Ibrahim Traoré, and those in the Sahel states of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, who have just done what we have been preaching for Africans to do forever, is they have confederated themselves, they have kicked out the West, and we hope, as we watch what's going on in Kenya and how that is also spreading to Senegal and Ghana and so on, that this is the time and the space for Pan-Africanism. We at Free Haiti have always been here. Brother Kalonji knows we don't get the platform. They want the Kamala Harris and the other sycophants to the status quo. But Èzili Dantò is here in this era, and we're not going to stop until the Black woman and the Black man's children all over this planet stop getting oppressed and are free to enjoy the world of abundance.
Listen, you as always lay it out so eloquently. And there's so many different directions we can go in just with, and that's the intro. I told you I wasn't ready. I mean, I tried to tell him, I tried to warn him. Ikemba, you still with us, brother? You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure you're good over there.
I'm all the way here. I'm
okay.
loving. I'm loving it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So I mean, it's so many different directions. First of all, before we even go any further, August 14th, this teaching, where's this held at? Is this virtual or what's the situation?
Yes, we have both virtual, and if you're in New York, there's going to be, I think this is the 30th year. If you're in New York, you can go to, oh my God, I forgot the name of the park. But, oh my gosh. Anyways.
We'll announce it when you get it. Don't worry about it.
Yes. Yeah. So it's going to be Gamboa. You can look him up. And he's been doing this, and we've supported them. We're going to be part of it. So just look up Gamboa, and he's going to be in New York, and Brooklyn at Prospect Park. That's where it's going to be. It's normally, whenever the Saturday of August 14th is, whenever that is, the nearest Saturday to August 14th is when that's done. For me, for the Free Haiti movement, please follow me on Èzili Dantò on Instagram. And then, of course, I'm on Èzili Dantò in all of the social media. You can also see me on Twitter. We're going to be announcing it. And we're going to spend hours talking about where we are now. Because if we don't know where we are, we do not know how to get out of, move forward. Where we are, and what does history mean? What really does it mean that our ancestors were spiritually based and began the only successful revolution where the oppressed replaced the oppressor on August 14th, 1791. So we're going to actually be talking about the women because they're sort of made invisible in our struggle in Haiti. So we're going to be talking about that. The women from the Congo, who Mamboinan, the priestess, she was from the Congo. Her name is Mamboinan, and we're going to be talking about that because I have felt a very, very strong energy with elevating from the Congo at the moment. And so, since that is part of my DNA, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to also be talking about the Maroon General. Her name is Toya. Abdaraya Toya. She was the aunt of Jean-Jacques Dessalines. And when Jean-Jacques Dessalines' sister, when Jean-Jacques Dessalines' mother died, she took over the raising of this man. And so I always want to tell Black women, are we raising nincompoops or are we raising warriors? Because right now there is a quiet genocide against us all over. You talk about it constantly, Kalonji, with the prison, school to prison pipeline, with the drugs infestation, with the we don't manufacture guns, and look at Haiti right now. There was recently a meeting at the UN to weed up the Kenyan forces because they took a year to get there because, like I said, Haiti is this fiscal paradise, but the United States was having a lot of problems raising money to give to his mercenary, Mr. Ruto. And so this is what we are, a fiscal.
While the U.S.
Go ahead, you can do that.
No, you good. Good. I'm sorry.
Okay. So yes. So to just finish up, you can go to my Èzili Dantò channels. You can find, like I said, 20 years of teachings on Bokaima Boyinan, Bokaima, and those things you won't learn in history about the women and the men. Like I said, we had, when you watch, for instance, Woman King. Well, they pick a time in the Dahomean life when they didn't tell you. I mean, they give you King Bezo. I think Woman King, the movie, was based around 1825. Well, if you know anything about history, you know already that we were already free. Haiti had already freed not only itself, but 5 Latin American countries. And the Dahomean warriors from what you see in King and Woman King, they were pivotal in that war and in destroying Napoleon's army. But they bring you to a place in a time where they were waning, and then eventually 100 years, about 1880 something, the Dahomeans were wiped out by the French. The irony, and because we don't see the lineage of our story, is that the French always knew that the Dahomean, that the aunt of Dessalines, the Maroon General Toya, taught Dessalines how to fight, taught him about what Black means, warriorship of Black, and taught him how to unify all the ethnic groups together to look as one. And that was in 1804. It's 2024 right now, and we're seeing finally a bit of that coming together in the Confederate alignment of the Sahel nations. We hope that's the only place to go, is for all of those 54 post Lumumba and Sankara mercenaries to be gone, for the Gen Z to continue doing what the Kenyans are doing, what we have been doing in Haiti, but without the type of journalism and coverage that they have. We do have a few Haitian men, but one in particular that is fighting back. We won't hear about him, and I'll get to him. And so I'll tell you that there is no sitting down and doing electoral politics with the Black Miss leadership class that I just saw the other day with Roland Martin. There is only fighting back, and we must fight back. We can't talk to these vampires. We must get ourselves to be strong. Black women have to raise strong children that understand that this vampire doesn't understand anything else but what he's been using against us. That's it.
No, definitely. So many points. I think that one of the things right now, and you mentioned, when you talk about Dessalines, it's like a whole nother uh, reality, because I think that most folks, I think most people don't even know who Dessalines is. That's number one. You know what I mean? But secondly, I think that just seeing this ongoing war against Haiti, how it's been, nonstop, and how folks chalk it up to all types of other things that they don't understand that this is they're constantly reminded that for all practical purposes, they got their asses kicked. They got it handed to them. And now, they've been disgruntled, and they continue to link with all types of different mercenaries, whether it's mercenaries from Colombia or others trained by the School of the Americas right here in the U.S. Or if it's, Africans who come from the same place where another of our great leaders, Dedan Kamati, came from, Kenya. I want to ask you, because it's quite disgusting that you have members of the Kenyan government who have decided to side with these rotten bastards for a few pieces of silver. I want to ask you, for our audience, what exactly is going on, when it comes to Kenya's relationship, or the Kenyan government's relationship with these folks who are trying to destroy this beautiful land. What is the purpose? And how did this all come about?
So here are the players. We have already defined who the core group are. There's those 6 nations plus there are 3 organizations. That's the EU, the UN, and the OAS. They make up the rulers of Haiti right now. And they've been ruling Haiti since 2004. And in 2004, when they first came in with a minister shoot to kill mission, after they got rid of President Aristide, they did the coup d'etat and flew him out. Our violence rate was 3.2 over 100,000. By the time minister in the UN left Haiti, our violence rate was 10.2. This, my people, is the only thing they bring. The only thing the UN brings to any nation in Africa, in the Caribbean, is more violence, because they are about depopulating you in various ways. So we fought very hard to get rid of the UN mission. As you know, they brought us cholera, which killed over 30,000 Haitians and made sick nearly 3 million Haitians. They left about 500,000 abandoned children from rape from their 13 year of being there. And so we have been fighting this diabolical depopulation campaign of the Ottawa Initiative that I told you started in 2003. Before they did the coup d'etat, they held that meeting. They said that by 2019, Haiti would have 20 million people, and that was a bomb waiting to happen. And so they came in with the UN mission to depopulate, and they did. Not only, like I said, did they abandon children and rape women, we never had the homosexuality that we have today. Those troops came in and sodomized our children. And today you will see Haitian children on the streets selling their bodies to foreigners. It was not something you saw 20 years ago. That's what they have left us. And then, like I said, we never had cholera. They brought in soldiers from spaces where cholera was active, and we had no protection for it. We've been in the same space. We've been quarantined in Haiti for 220 years. So virgin. And then they brought all of these various people with different diseases. Right now, Kenya has Ebola. We don't have Ebola. By the time we finish, we may have Ebola. Kenya comes from a space where it has antibodies for its strain of cholera, because it's had cholera for 50 to 70 years. So we expect to have now their cholera too, in addition to the Eastern Sri Lankan cholera that they have put into Haiti, which every rainy season hikes up again after us. So core group and the UN, that's what they have brought us, and the violence rate. 3 years ago, they do fake elections, the same type of fake elections we have in the United States. So the US runs its imperialism through debt, democracy, and charity. Fake democracy, fake charity. Hear me, people, it doesn't change the template. And so after getting rid of Aristide in 2004, they brought us the UN. The UN gave guns to people in certain areas, and then they brought their they tried to, the people they allowed to become politicians in office are people that they have documents on who are corrupt. So in Haiti, Michel Martelly, a bisexual man who fits their way of being, who probably bends down for the CIA and so on, who runs Haiti and all of that. And so he became our president. It was the most insulting thing. And then you have this class of schooled Haitians that are no different from the class of alphas and boulets and so on. But in Haiti, they come from the area of the non-for-profit. So there are people who are educated, who then go work for the UN, for UNICEF, and other international organizations. And then they come back to Haiti to become the face of imperialism, like Gary Cornell right now, who is our prime minister, never elected, unconstitutional, put into office by CARICOM and a group that they call the Conseil Présidentiel. It's a presidential council. So what happens? The one thing folks have to understand, as a lawyer, I always try to emphasize this. Like Neely Fuller says, the law is used to maintain white supremacy. Period, no comma. Right? So they create this thing they call a republic, which is run by laws. But when you have a constitution that talks about putting the people in power, the United States always destroys your constitution. So since our constitution, the 1987 constitution, the United States constantly destroys it by not having one man, one vote apply, by destroying the electoral system. So right now, in 1991, when Jean-Bertrand Aristide became president, he got something like 91% of the voting public went to vote, and he got something like 70% of the vote. The US had to change that to make it like the US system, to make it like the system that they bring in with their George Soros societies. A system where you have less than 20% of the voting population voting, period. They need that, right? And so just like the United States, less than 20% vote, right? And that's what they call their democracy. And in that space in America, it's not direct, as you know, it's electoral democracy. Haiti actually, after the 30 year of Duvalier, they actually had a real electoral democracy where the vote of the people could actually count. The US has spent the last 20, 30 years destroying it. So when Mateli was put into office, because he was being put into office by a few, less than 20%, and they manipulate the vote. And then Mateli put in his successor, which was Jovenel Moïse. Jovenel Moïse was assassinated, I want everybody to understand, on July 7, 2021, by agents of the United States. The same agents who are now coming back to say they need to bring order to Haiti. So they create the disorder, and then they tell you they're going to bring order. So just like in 2004, they did a coup d'etat against President Aristide, and then they brought minister to give you order. You're never going to get order from them. Understand that, Black people. Today, 3 years ago, agents of the United States from the DEA, just look it up, because after their DEA agents and their Colombian trained, their special forces Colombian trained military came to Haiti and tortured and killed Jovenel Moïse, then they allowed the vivre ensemble. These are men from economically deprived places that have no jobs, no way of moving up socially. They're deprived. The politicians go to them. The politicians tell them, to bring out the vote or to suppress the vote in their areas. Because remember, they got the lesson from Aristide. It was through Cité Soleil, this area where the sweatshops that were then sent to China, but they had started their sweatshop template in Haiti under Duvalier and something called Cité Simon, which then turned into Cité Soleil. But that's where the constituency to vote for Aristide was. They had to destroy that constituency, right? And that's what they've been doing steadily. So today, we have no direct democracy. We have fake democracy. And that's what we have in the United States, right? The Electoral College, and then you have these talented 10th Dubois, Miss Leadership Black, Boulay people who are there for their own personal gain. Well, the NGO schooled Haitians are there for their own personal gain. They get their approval from the white society, not the masses that I represent at the Free Haiti movement. So now what you have to understand is that 60%, CARICOM is the regional organization of Caribbean nations, of the 15 Caribbean nations. Out of those 15 Caribbean nations, the population of Haiti makes 60%. We are a population of about 15 million, but they'll tell you 13 million. But let's use their numbers, right? 13 million in Haiti. Jamaica has maybe 3 million people. Some of these other little nations, might have, that they have very small numbers. They discriminate against us. CARICOM, for instance, allows people from other nations, from other Caribbean states to travel without a visa, not Haitians. We are going through a Holocaust. Every week, more than 200 Haitians are drowning in the Atlantic Ocean. So that middle passage continues because they set our country on fire. How, may you ask, did they kill and why did they kill the president? And then now they want to bring Kenya in to put back order. So if you look at the court cases, because the same FBI agents were part of the group of people that killed Jovenel Moïse, but the FBI is the one doing the investigation into his murder. You got me? So this is the offensiveness of these illogical vampires. But we have schooled Haitians who will not tell you this thing, right? Because they want a job, just like the NACP, Mark in the Urban League, and Mark Morial, and they want a job, right? They want the corporate handouts. They want the set aside, right? In IT, it's if you want your NGO to be funded, you can't get into politics. You can't talk like Èzili Dantò. You can't say the truth. And you think the only way to liberate your people is through electoral politics.
So let me ask you this, because, and I know that Ikemba is going to jump in, but, you mentioned electoral politics. You mentioned, the U.S. and comparing or the similarities based on the U.S.'s involvement in Haiti. I want to ask you, because right now the pink elephant or the black elephant or the Asian elephant, whatever kind of elephant in the room, is the current vice president of the United States under the Biden administration, who is running, has been nominated for the Democratic Party. I want to know your take on Kamala Harris, because you have some folks who are saying, well, folks are upset because she's a woman. It's a gender issue. You understand? Some folks are like, if she was a man, then it wouldn't be a problem, and so on and so forth. So I want to know your take, because I think that not too many people are addressing, her politics. That's the first part. But the second part of that question would be, from what you understand, what has been her policy on Haiti and other places, just from your observation? Has she been good for the country? I mean, yeah.
Well, has Biden been good for Haiti? Hell no. As I said, their de facto a president that they put into office, they killed him under Biden Harris. Okay, let's just start there. On July 7th, 2021, who was president of the United States? Mr. Biden. Who was vice president? Kamala Harris. Okay, and the United States has the largest embassy in the Western Hemisphere in Haiti. And you mean to tell me that there are street gangs less than 100 yards from that embassy, and the U.S. can do nothing about it?
Less than 100 yards?
Less than 100 yards. Katsamauzo, right next to them.
Wow.
Do you understand? Okay. It's the fourth largest embassy in the world. So do not let them play with you, people. Like, I'm tired of talking, so I only come and talk to special people that I've known for a long time, like you, Kalonji. Because I've been doing this. It just makes no sense to hit my head against the wall. How many times have I said that the U.S. has the largest embassy in the Western Hemisphere in Haiti? Why? Because we have the largest cache of oil. Our oil is like a swimming pool compared to Venezuela's cup of water. We have something called iridium. Iridium that Mr. All of these Elon Musk and folks need for their going out into space. It's one of the most heat resistant elements. 1 ton of iridium is $45 billion. They have been carting out mountains of it since 2004.
Wow.
Imagine just 1 ton could get my people 13 million out of this. But they have to kill you. They have to oppress you. And they have to create a class of terrorists that look like Boko Haram and ISIS in the Western Hemisphere in Haiti. And that's what they call the gangs are. That's what they are. And I watched it happen. And I kept saying to men, listen, they've studied your DNA. They know how to make you violent. What's happening in Haiti is too violent to be normal. These men will rape until they hurt themselves. It's too violent to be normal. And I watched it happen. I saw the Israeli tanks that were being given with the water that they were spraying at them. For years, they kept doing that. And today, these people's minds are gone. They're not even human. They're making their, and that's hard for me, of course, to say. But there is no saving these people. They have to go. Mm-hmm. Period. Okay. And the thing is, there's not the integrated Negroes, they're taught that everything has to be about law. There is a man, I want to tell you his name. I want every Black man to be looking for him. His name is Muscadin. Let me see if I can. Muscadin. Muscadin. Kenya landed in Haiti a month ago, June 25th. They're making their salary that they normally make in Kenya, plus between $1,500 to $2,000 more per month. The head of the Kenyan mission is making $11,700 a month. And the woman underneath is making something like $7,700. We are a fiscal paradise. But before that, the defense contractors, the Biden defense contractors, came in and built that base and probably made much more than that. And so
what about the people of the country? I mean, what is their income?
The Haitian police there's less than 10,000 Haitian police for 13 million people. The United States has had an embargo on guns going to Haiti. Guess who it's enforced against? The police, not the gangs.
Wow.
So if you there's a resolution. There's a resolution at the UN right now, and they go through all their rigmarole to seem like they care. There's a resolution where the UN says that most of the guns going to the militias, the gangs, come from the United States, come from Florida. Period. We don't manufacture guns. Okay, so they embargo giving guns and bullets to the law and order folks, but they give it to the ones that are killing the people and burning their houses and kidnapping them, because there are places that are being burnt that are, a lot of it is next to the shoreline. A lot of it is where resources are. And so they're going to keep that happening, but they tell you that Kenya has come to help us. I wish I could show you a picture to see exactly what Kenya's been doing in Haiti since it got there. Okay, but you can look it up, okay? Just look up Kenya securing the U.S. Embassy. They're right outside the U.S. Embassy. And right now, the gangs are continuing. They have not, for the last month since Kenya has been there, no one has saved any Haitian. There's the kidnapping continue, the rape for women and children continue, the burning of areas and zones continue. There is one man in the south of Haiti who have kept the gangs out of the south. His name is Muscadin. He doesn't bring them to any jail. He finds them, he executes them. This is where we are. That's the only way we're going to get rid of them. The United States now is talking, right? They're talking. The NGO, George Soros, educated Negroes are talking.
So what is? I'm sorry.
No, go on. Ask me a question.
No, I was going to ask you. And matter of fact, Ikemba, I'm sorry, you had some questions. I've been kind of, I'm zoning out, but I'll let Ikemba. I'm sorry, brother.
Nah,
I'm
both
like,
of y'all really, really engaged. I'm sitting here just soaking it all in and really inspired by the warrior spirit of my sister. And it was so much said. So I'm sitting here just like, what to say, because there was some things that you said a while back that still was ringing in my head when you were speaking about the Congolese connection, and I know we kind of moved away from that, but uh, we're talking about this ongoing war against African people in Haiti that began on the African continent, and I'm thinking about those because if I recall, I think you said that 70% of the Haitian people are descendants of the Congolese, and it made me just like really think about this ongoing war against the Congolese people and the Haitian people, right? That goes back even beyond before the 1800s, right? We're going all the way back to the 1500s as they continue to bring Africans into Haiti, and it made me think about Malcolm X and how he used to make that connection with the Africans in the Americas with the Congolese, right? We look much as the Congolese than the Congolese does, and it made me think about just the warrior spirit of the Congolese and the Stoner Rebellion, because those people came from Central Africa. Yep. And that history with in the between 1700 and 1740, most of the Africans that were coming into the Carolinas were coming from Central Africa, that area of Angola and Congo. They were bringing them into the Carolinas, and they had to stop bringing them because of the rebellion, the Stoner Rebellion. Well, they didn't have to, but they decided to.
Exactly.
Not bring them because of that rebellious spirit. So it made me think about Haiti and just like you said, that 7%.
Angola. Remember Louisiana? I'm always talking about that in America.
Yeah.
You understand the breaking of that Angola prison? I always say that that's what we have to do, because they went straight from that plantation, and our ancestors are crying. I feel it. I feel that energy. And so I spent a lot. So Cameroon, Angola, that was part of the Congo before, they divided it, right? So this is where what they call the indigenous army of Haiti. Not, in his story, you're going to learn about Toussaint Louverture, the French general, right? You're going to learn about Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and they always want to tell you he massacred white people and he was brutal. They don't tell you what they do. And that in that war, these people needed to be executed. They don't tell, and he actually let 7,500 of them go. You understand?
He's merciful. Right.
He was merciful. He let Rochambeau go. You understand? But their academics are constantly crying about the 3,000 slavers that were killed, and not doing the revolution that were in this. Like I said, about 70% was was from the Congo, Central Africa, and then the rest came from West Africa. And I told you about Jean-Jacques Dessalines' adopted mother, Toya, who was a Maroon general. She came from the elite group of Dahomean warriors. She taught them everything, how to fight, hand-to-hand combat, how to shoot. She was a knife thrower. And to this day, if someone wants to cut you, like in a conversation, they always say things like, I'm going to throw Toya at you. but that's the only way you hear her. I mean, she's not in the books. So, and also the Congo women, right? Remember, Queen Nzinga tried to figure out how to talk to these colonists and how to maybe save her people from the slave trade. And one of the conditions of the Pope when she had her conversation with him was that if you become Christian or Catholic, then, you know, they would stop the slave trade in the Congo. And so the women who came to Haiti were already Catholics from the Congo, right? But they never ever and this is a lesson when I teach lessons of history, because I don't do history just for the hell of it like these academics. I do history because there are answers there. Like our ancestors left us the path, right? So in those paths, those women, they use the confessionals as spy networks. So today, ask these Jesus people, are they using that tool for liberation? So when they got to Haiti, those women were used to, there were 100 years of Queen Nzinga fooling these folks, right? The Catholics, right? The Brazilian, whatever, what I forgot what. Anyways, who colonized Brazil again? I forgot also, but they're Portuguese. Thank you.
Right.
Yes. So they were used to going after the Portuguese and to being underestimated, so that one day these women were older women who were at this school teaching some of these free Black women, because they took, these women were healers. A lot of the women warriors, actually all the warriors had some healing skill, even Toussaint Louverture, of course. This is what they learned. This is how they learned to fight, right? They learned herbal ways. And to this day, I always say to some of these folks that are behind enemy lines, listen, you're cooking their food. Remember what Macandal did, right? So we've almost forgotten how to fight back. We think we're helpless, but we're not helpless. The herbs and the poison are right there in Haiti, and they brought you all the weapons. Africans, we never manufactured weapons during the Haitian Revolution. We used their weapons. I'll leave that to you, Africans. And Toya and the women of the Congo, women fight differently, obviously. You understand? And so they use those herbal medicine in ways to get rid of the Napoleon army. And today, you know, we have to protect ourselves. We have to go back to herbal cures. We have to go back to organic foods. We have to go back to breathing the air outside of Port-au-Prince so we can detoxify. Put your feet inside that billion. The land mass of Haiti is over 1 billion years old. So that's why it's so valuable. So essentially the gangs were folks that were paid by politicians to bring out the vote, or paid by, we have the overseers of Haiti today are white men that are called the Syrian Lebanese, right? The Syrian Lebanese control 98% of the Haitian economy. They're the ones financing these gangs. Okay, look them up. I will give you 3 names, or you can just go to my free IT movement. My people, you know, if you go to, so Gilbert Bijou, who is the representative of Israel for a long time in IT. Okay, just like the Congo has one. They control what the United States uses IT for in the other Caribbean nations, right? So they bring the drugs in from Colombia, and then the CIA uses the ships of the Haitian oligarchs, these white men who are less than half of 1% of the population, but they control 98% of the wealth. That's why you have a situation in the space of these, where these people, and then they will give guns to starved Haitian men or Haitian men without resources to take care and secure their businesses. But in 2021, when the United States agents killed the president of Haiti, those gangs metastasized. They no longer just were doing the biddings of the politicians and the Haitian oligarchy. They went into business for themselves.
I want to, and first of all, we don't, just from past episodes, we don't do the audience a service. We do them a disservice having you on here for a short amount of time. I don't think we've ever done just 1 hour. That don't really make sense for us, because you'll be like, we just gonna do 30 minutes and we're gonna do 40 minutes. And that ain't gonna happen. So we already know that. So definitely want to invite you back on the joint. I also want to point out a book that I think folks should have in their library. We talk about Haitian history. You mentioned Toya and a couple other folks. I think that, people should definitely pick up She Rose of the Haitian Revolution by Ina Bello. I think it's an asset to your libraries if you want to learn more about the women of the Haitian Revolution, because I've learned so much just because, as you mentioned, they don't teach about the men, so they don't teach about the women. It's not even thought of. So definitely, I would say pick that book up. It's a excellent piece, and of course, Ina Bello has been on the platform as well. I want to, because we have a few more minutes, and I want to pose the question. Where are we now when it comes to any sort of movement to liberate Haiti? How is that looking? Because it seems to be so many forces that are stacked against this one nation. You know what I mean? From the French to the U.S. to so many others. You mentioned, the Colombians, the mercenaries who were trained right here in the U.S., and so many other different folks who have the Kenyans and so on and so forth, that are trying to get a piece of the pie, that are trying to get this steak. What do you feel should be done, and where, like I said, where are we right now? What's going on? Do we stand a chance? What's happening from your vantage point?
Hell yeah, I came to win. So here we go. For me, there's a lot of us that are going to have to be more, that we just have to marginalize. Like when I saw that Roland Martin thing the other day, like I watched it like for that 4 hours, and I saw, so we're living this thing called what Dessalines left two very important edifices that I urge all Black men to read: his Act of Independence and the Liberté ou la Mort, where he says, liberty or death, right? And his 1805 Constitution. He says, for years, we have been discussing with these folks, and they have been bringing us phantoms of liberty. Like it's a phantom. This duopoly doesn't control the U.S. government. It's controlled by the economic elite, the oligarchs at the highest of level. They control both the Republicans and the demon rats. So what are we Are we going to continue to be insane, doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results? Are we going to not understand where we are? So where are we? We live in a time, both in Haiti and in a lot of places in the in Africa, where the height of success for Black people is to have a position in electoral politics. Okay? That's where we are. You and I and this brother I'm just meeting right now know that that is insane. So in that space, only the individual integrated Negro wins.
You said it's insane, and you know I need that to for the Rise Up Morning Show audience, so Black Power Media, for folks who are true to Black Power and true to revolution and African culture, so on and so forth. She said it's insane, and it's sad, Èzili. It is a sad thing because, you know, it's like a train. You know, you can get on an Amtrak or Metro North where we're from, and you have some folks that get on the train with you, and different people are getting off at different stops. So you might have got on at the same stop with a couple brothers and sisters or whatever, and y'all just riding along and everything's cool, and you love the conversation and whatnot, and you know that, you know, it's a beautiful time, and then these different stops folks have to get off. That's how it is with revolution. You understand what I'm saying? That's how it is with our culture. It's like we know that some of us are only going to go so far.
That's right.
Some of us, it's the end of the line. It's
That's
like
right.
we're going all the way to Grand Central. We're not stopping in Norwalk. We're not stopping in Stanford. We're not stopping in Greenwich. You know what I'm saying? We're not stopping in Yonkers. We're not stopping on 125th.
Nope.
We got to go to the tunnels.
That's right.
And
you're
then,
going to get a lot of haters for not stopping.
Man, yeah. And you're going to be sad too, because some of those folks, you're like, damn, I thought, you know, because you hear them and you talking the same talk. It sounds similar. Then all of a sudden they like, yeah, you know, I'm just going to go fight for life.
Give you an example right now of like something that hurts me, like a hot iron in my heart. I started out with Jean-Bertrand Aristide, Lavalas. Guess who is part of this whole let's bring Kenya in today?
Who's that?
Right.
The Fami Lavalas political party.
Wow.
Okay. Now I got off that train a long time ago, but it's still, you know, it still hurts.
Right.
I mean, you know, I mean, I kept going and they got off.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, in this journey, the people you start out with are not going to make it through the entire journey.
Boy.
You know, and then they're going to hate you because, you know, you're like, I don't know. If people believe in Santa Claus, you're the one like that's taking the lollipop away.
Yeah,
like
you're the Grinch.
You're the Grinch, right?
Yeah.
So
Kimber's the Grinch.
So that's why it's important. This is what, okay, since we don't, let me just say a thing that's really important. I live in a maroon space. In order to survive as warriors and freedom fighters, we have to understand that even though we're here within the belly of the beast or within this system of profit over people, we have to stick to our guns and see our vision. It's very hard to be disciplined and see the end and see the abundance. I see the abundance of Haiti. I know we're going to release Congo and in Haiti. I dream of Abraham Traoré and those in the Sahel that have put aside the religion. Even the Kenyan people have finally put aside their religion. They're coming together as one for liberation. And they're saying no to electoral politics. They're saying Ruto must go. Now, we must understand that even though the U.S. Constitution and all of these narratives tell you it's for the people, by the people, of the people, no. We are run by precedent. created by slave owners that they call the law.
That is, and on that note, I hate to say we're out of time because we're not out of time. We are here, and we will be here till there is no more here. This is the Rise Up Morning Show. This is Black Power Media. This is the real Black Power Media. And I'm not saying that to diss nobody, but I'm just telling you, know what it is. This is where you're going to get that revolutionary culture. This is where you won't find any soft shoe, bubblegum chewing. You know, this is what's real right here, because we
bubblegum chewing. I know what that means.
Listen, man,
we
you already
talked about that earlier.
I told you about it. So you get the gum slapped out your mouth over here. Get your gums slapped
we're
out.
We're not going to sit around with, to be the head of white supremacy with Kamala Harris. When our people have, there's still lead in the water in Michigan. There's hookworms in Alabama. We're prison fodder from school, prison fodder. No, we're not going to be the half sycophants to tyranny of the world's oligarchs and their endless genocide, their endless wars. Right. We're not going to do that. And you know what, my people? I want you to know, you heard this from Èzili Dantò. We come from a long place. We are cosmic people, and we've already won. And I'm going to meet all of you at that crossroad.
No doubt.
Yeah, I'm going to be there with you,
Èzili Dantò.
We on the right side of history. That's what people have to understand. Like if and this is why that dude Bill Clinton said what he said, because he know that Kwame Ture is on the right side of history, because that's we're on the path to liberating ourselves. Our communities. This is the last thing I want to say is, like, when we look at our communities and what's going on in our communities, all the social ills, drug abuse, the horizontal violence. There was 10 people shot right around the corner from me a couple of days ago. If the Malcolm X's, the Garveys, the Black Panthers, if they were able to thrive and organize our communities wouldn't be in the shape they are today. They're in the shape they are today because they didn't let us control our communities. They wanted to control our communities. So y'all voting for another people to gain control, to maintain control over our communities. Anytime we rise up, they gonna put that to a stop, because they know what we about, man.
Hey man, when the people army rise, then the system will fall. This is the Rise Up Morning Show. You know what we do around here. Thank you all for joining us on this beautiful morning. Make sure you walk your day strong, keep your head up, and we're here. We will win. This is episode 6. So imagine what we got in store for you. Make sure you stay tuned. Thank you, Èzili Dantò, for joining us today. I am Kalonji Changa alongside Ikemba. And till next time, you know what it is. Rise up.
Rise up.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one, where the battle is to love yourself and function in society, where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares, mentally frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and they're babbling, but the baby's in the bath and the stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces winners on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution. It's real solutions. What we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my inner me really a mirror for the galaxy. New time, brand new paradigms, new contracts to sign. They thought that this would all be televised, though it's happening right before our very eyes. It's on the inside, with their guns cocked. When that rock drops, standing on the rooftop, praying that the mountaintop can live inside the valley. People tell me the reward is somewhere off in heaven, like heaven's only in the sky, like chariots are swinging, like God is something separate from yourself, from your wealth, from your lover, from your neighbor. Oh, your savior is coming in your own name, coming with the face the same. Real revolution, it's real solutions, where we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution, where my enemy is really a mirror for the galaxy.